Hello, everybody. We're talking hospitalities with the recruiter guys. I'm Gary Turner.
Carey Stinson.
And our special guest today is Chris Tripoli in his kitchen in the hill country of Texas.
Hello, guys.
Hey, I'm hoping you're going to cook us something up while you're in the kitchen this morning, Chris.
Yes. Did we tell you about the cooking demo you're doing?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, that's my next stage. That's my next thing is I want to compete with Rachel Ray. I want to do the Chris Tripoli 30-minute meals here in the hill country.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we had, when we were doing the evening with the recruiter guys, we had Chris on during, I don't know if it was during the shutdown, but it was close by. And there was a lot of different things going on. So that's been maybe a year, right around a year ago. And a lot of things have changed in your life, professionally and personally. You were selling your business, you sold your office, you sold your house, and you built a new house on Canyon Lake. And but you're still involved in the industry that you love so much for 40 years. And that's where we kind of would like to start, is to where you were and how everything transpired, and then what you're doing now to stay in touch with the industry as it moves out of this dark area of our industry and into a more vibrant industry.
Well, yeah. Okay. Well, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for having me. I mean, I'm always interested in talking hospitality. Our industry, you know, is just in constant state of flux and growing. And I do believe that one of the advantages, if there are, you know, many advantages that came out of this horrible couple of year stint of openings, closings, and that COVID brought onto us, was that it made operators, especially the smaller hands-on independent operators, much more aware of the customer dynamic. And the stronger ones are the ones that are coming out of this more attuned. They're probably much better listeners. They've engaged with their staff because they really needed to. They changed the business dynamic to be a lot more guest-oriented and convenient. You know, we learned that people are demanding variety and quality, but they're still demanding it in a convenient way. So people who didn't think that they really needed digital technology to operate by are switching all of their mentality. People who thought they could maybe skip a lot of the movement towards third-party delivery or didn't like it because of the expense are now finding ways to win at it. See, and I just find that invigorating. The industry never really stands still. So that's kind of cool. And you're right, to your second point, me too. I mean, I'm just forever thankful. I mean, that's the point I am. I look back now and I feel like, you know, I had an opportunity to spend my entire work life, 50 years of my life, I got to spend in some area of hospitality, working, cooking, you know, cleaning, busing, managing, owning, and then teaching, writing, consulting. So I'm just thankful, you know, that I had as many opportunities as I've had. And then, you know, and then able to give the next generation, give a couple of people the opportunity to take the brand, buy the consulting, go their own way and watch them bloom is kind of cool. So yeah, that kind of throws me into the category of retired. And I've formally retired, you know, from active consulting, but I don't really know what the definition of retirement is supposed to be. I mean, I really don't. I just think it really means something different than what we saw. You know, our generation saw the people before us maybe stayed in an industry for a long time or worked for one company for a long time. Right. They had a party, you know, you gave us 40 years of service, here's a watch. And then the next day they're in the recliner watching daytime TV. And I don't get that. I don't think our generation does that. I think retirement, or at least for me, what it really means is it just means the next chapter. It just means being done with what it is maybe you've been doing so that you now have time for the next chapter. And so I'll always be busy doing something. And that to me is what my retirement years are.
Well, the phase, as I see retirement creeping up, I won't retire because I can recruit in a coma. So,
you know, I'm sure your clients enjoy hearing that.
Exactly. Well, they prefer it actually. but
All of them are probably saying, and so what would be different? I'm sure that's what
yeah,
most of them are
exactly.
saying.
So what I'm thinking of, it becomes a point in time where I answer the phone when I want to, not when I have to,
Yeah.
and but to like 50 years, 35, 40 years, it's something that's just there and it always be there. I mean, when you're 75 or 80 and somebody calls you, oh wait, you are 75 and 80. You are somebody calls you and asks you something, you're going to answer them. You're going to take the call, and you're going to because it's not about being relevant. It's just about being involved in something that I love. So I know that I won't sit in a chair and watch daytime TV.
I know, just use that as an example, but I do have time now, and I am staying busy, but it is time with just things that I really like. I mean, I'm spending time doing some reading, and maybe I'm getting caught up on some old favorite movies and that kind of stuff. But work-wise, I'm having a ball because I'm getting to spend more time on things that just require time. And if you're busy working, you just can't do it. But I'm working with Jim and Joe, who I know who are partners in restaurantowner.com. And I've always loved that online resource. But now I get to work with them on developing some updated content, and we're creating some new series, educational series. And these things take a little bit of time, but it's so much fun. And so I'm doing that, and writing with Restaurant Startup and Growth Magazine, another love of mine. But again, when you're busy working, you just don't spend too much time on it. So
Right.
And between the magazine and the website, they developed a podcast, some months back called Corner Booth, and I host that for them. So that's a real kick in the pants. So I'm getting to do things that help me stay connected and keep me somewhat involved, but it doesn't take a lot of hard work time. It's just more fun time.
Well, and as we can hear, you're also getting some work done in the house.
Well, yeah. You probably see walking in the
Yes.
background.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but yeah.
Yeah. Hey,
That's Daniel doing some touch-up paint. We really, really enjoy the home. But we're still getting a little bit of punch list and some, we've been here 6 months, but we're still doing a little bit of punch list and touch-up stuff. And I thought it was hilarious when, the paint touch-up, which was maybe a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, schedules go, and then all of a sudden, no, it'll be Wednesday. Oh, wonderful. Okay, we'll just.
Perfect. So you're working with some institutions or some government entities. Did I say that right? And
Yeah, that's
doing some expert testimony also.
Well, I do some of that, yeah, and I don't know if I'll be doing a lot more of that, really. I think it's better probably for maybe people who are currently working, in the industry. In fact, I would like to refer some of those maybe future expert testimony things to, Ashley, who, worked with me for years and years, and I think she'd do, great at the kind of research needed to do that. So I think the future might be to other people. But yeah, I finished up 1 or 2 cases, and I work for the small business development centers, which is really kind of interesting because I've always liked those centers. I've just felt like they're sort of one of America's best kept secrets, because not many small businesses know that there are these centers that exist. In fact, there's about 1,000 of them. They're funded by the SBA and whatever higher education facility they team up with. So most of them are teamed up with universities like U of H or community colleges. And so the Gulf Coast region, which I think has 14 or 15 centers, has contracted with me just to work with their advisors. So when their small business advisors get requests from small independent restaurants about reworking their SBA loans or trying to improve operations, a lot of times their advisors want to reach out to specialists. And so I've been doing some webinar training of the advisors, and that's worked out well enough where the North Texas region picked me up, the Central Texas region picked me up. And so I'm doing some pretty good fun stuff where I'm really working for them so that they can help their clients better.
Well, and Chris, how are you keeping up with what's going on in the industry? The
Well,
latest challenge is everything that's happening.
it is. Well, there's many sources that I really like to subscribe to. And then, of course, I still stay very active with people who are running companies or people who are in it, people that I've gotten to know over the years. So you're never really too far away. I don't roll up my sleeves and pick up clients or go do any work anymore. But I am staying very close to it through associations, through educators, and we talk all of the time. And when you have to write for a magazine, you really need to stay current. So, we're always talking, gathering information, interviewing restaurant association heads, interviewing companies, talking to purveyors so that we can stay current on all the issues like the damn supply side interruption and the challenges with labor and also trying to educate people on some of the misconceptions. I think the number one misconception was that since it weakened the restaurant industry so much, there's going to be a tremendous amount of failures. And that means there'll be a tremendous amount of opportunities to pick up really good locations at a very depressed, price because, landlords are going to be hurting. And in truth, you don't see too much of that, not in the successful marketplaces. There might be some of that in some instances, but there hasn't been widespread weakening of the market just because restaurants have had to adjust and many, many restaurants have lost a lot of revenue. The overall, market is really still pretty strong.
It is. A couple of things I've read in Nation's Restaurant News and a couple of other places is like overall U.S. Restaurant sales have been down a couple of months, but a couple of things, guest check average is up.
Yeah.
And a lot of it has to do with a lot of fast food chains and even some other big full service chains are having a menu, price hikes.
Yes. And we've had to react to that. And also, I think it's also had to help make operators operate better. Every single restaurant has a daily special board out in front of it, and all the daily specials for about the last year have just been accepting applications or now hiring. And we're always yelling and screaming about there's not people out there, or they all became Amazon drivers in COVID and no one's coming back to work in my kitchen, And what I've tried to stress is gives you a good opportunity to go inward now and work with your staff and increase your program. Try to create a point of difference to make people want to work with you rather than work down the street. And you could start with that silly ass sign. Instead of saying now hiring, how about saying life is just too short not to work here? Or how about getting some employee to put a personal statement like, I'm fun to work with, come work here, sign Jocelyn. You just have to do a better job. And I'm thinking, there's nothing wrong with having to do a better job. And I think that's what's going to lead to the successful restaurants having higher PPAs. And I think that's what's going to lead to restaurants getting more customers coming back.
Yeah, the now hiring, it's become so there that you don't even pay attention to it anymore. And unfortunately, in most markets, the owner operators, managers are fishing out of the same pond for the same 8 excellent staff members in the market.
Yeah.
But do you see or feel that, I remember when we were coming out of it, we gave everybody what was coined a honeymoon period, where you still went in and you still tipped and you gave them the doubt of all the food being late and the service being slow and being out of things. Is that honeymoon over? Are we expecting the way our service and dining experience to be the same as it was pre-COVID at this point in time?
No, and I'm glad you brought that up. I think the smarter operators are saying, forget the honeymoon period. We get a little bit of a break, but if we're going to be the better one in the market, if we're going to be able to score the more employees and the better employees, it's going to start with the fact that we're doing a better job right now. So whether we have to adjust our menu, whether we have to do more with fewer people, let's be the first one to do better. I tell you, a guy who's doing that now has got a small restaurant in Fredericksburg, and he's just knocking it out of the park. Brian O'Neill owns a restaurant called Alamo Springs Cafe. It's a very old, historic cafe, been around since, I don't know, Christ lost his shoe. And he bought it about a half a dozen years ago. And so he's been balancing how to maintain, historic tradition, and yet how to operate in a new manner where I can, embrace changes that are going on in the industry, engage better with my staff, improve the level of hospitality. And it's been working for him. So see, I would use him as the example of the sooner we, stop thinking or counting on honeymoon period and start saying, no, I've got to operate better now. Then the sooner we'll all raise, the level of hospitality in the marketplace. So the customer wins, but they only win by us getting busier and making more money.
And the staff wins.
What are some of those things he's done?
Well, he developed a really good way of doing a good curbside pickup and a way of treating his local marketplace, because Fredericksburg, I guess, has got sort of a separation of clientele. They've got a really good local base, but then they've got a tremendous amount of, the Texas visitors, the weekend stayers, and that kind of thing. And so he said, I've got to win with both. And so he really started engaging by having different types of specials for the different days. And he really tried to improve most of the key food items. And he got the staff involved in personalizing this process. So the word gets out in a smaller market very quickly. Like, let's go see what new that they're doing. Let's go see what better that they're doing. And I thought, that's just a good way that he did what the industry noticed, a couple of years ago with, say, let's use a more common example, Popeyes. All they did was decide one day, let's just make our chicken sandwich really, really good. Let's just do something better. You know what I mean? Let's just do it better and see what happens. And we saw what happens, that, wow, the marketplace went, whoa. I mean, this is really good, tender, it's thick, well-breaded. The bread actually tastes like bread, not some processed parchment. And I can still get it quick and convenient, but it's good. And it just set the industry on their ear. Everyone now all of a sudden had to start saying, let's go find the basic parts of our concept and just make them better, new, improved, better. And so, we saw that. We saw how it wins when you just declare war on quality and make things better. Your staff starts believing in what they're doing again. See, that's what he did. He said he came up with what he called a people first vision. It's like, staff, we're going to win this together. So let's just come up with how best do we want to do what we want to do. One thing that he did was, and he said, this is just kind of a sort of a vision thing, but the table, they always had these old antique, I think, square tables in there. So what he did is he got a round top. So he could say, what we're going to do, we're going to just get staff focus groups and we're going to sit around the table. These round table discussion forums are when we're going to all be equal and we're going to have no titles. We're going to sit around the table. We're going to have a cup of coffee and throw ideas out on how we can do what we do better. And he said the staff love it, man. I think it's Tuesdays. Every Tuesday, he brings out the little round tabletop and he throws it on top of a table and let's sit around and they have their coffee. And he said the ideas start flowing and the staff engage and they like it. And then of course the round top goes away and everyone goes back into their roles and managers support staff and staff run the show.
How long has Brian O'Neill been open?
Let's see. Well, he had to go through all the, COVID rules. I mean, he was, shut down long ago, but then he opened as soon as they could. And right now he's open. Weather permitting, they're open, I think 6 days a week. They have a really large outdoor area there at the end of, their street. So he's got some acreage. So he plans some events and things of that nature. So, and he's got a pretty, but he's only owned it, I think, for for 5 or 6 years. Before that, he was around the Austin market.
Right, right. He was working down at Lake Austin. Yeah,
I think so. He's got a very interesting, history. I mean, he actually is sort of a adopted son of Texas. He came out of the Northeast. He was a old hard rocker, came to Texas to open Planet Hollywood. I think before that, he even did a stint of running the bar. What's that? The tavern actually called Bull and something, the tavern in Boston that they used to shoot Cheers. He was the manager of that bar.
The only thing I have there is I've been to the oldest bar in America, McSorley's in Soho, I think, or somewhere in Manhattan, many years ago. Have you been to? Is it the True Heart Bed and Breakfast? The Adair Family Concepts Bed and Breakfast in Fredericksburg?
I have not. No. They're doing some good stuff. I mean, that's another good restaurant group. I like them a lot, but no, I haven't really been out and about very much. In fact, some of the neighbors here noticed that I have dubbed the little mountain that we live on as just basically culinary hell. You
Culinary hill or culinary hell?
Hell, yeah, you got to get down off the hill and actually go find a real city if you're wanting to eat out. Other than that, you do a lot of cooking in, and I mean, we found a couple small little bars that are fun, but there's nothing right here. I've got one tiny little town called Sattler, and that's right at the bottom of the hill. It's so much fun. You drive down 5-10 minutes, you're in a town called Sattler, which is only about 2 streets. It's got a humongous Ace Hardware. But other than that, it's really teeny tiny little post office and a couple few shops. Now, there is a cool little donut place. And just to tell you how much I have adjusted to the lifestyle of the hill country, every Wednesday, people on the hill drive down, and that's how you do your recycling. Because although trash trucks will come up here, the recycling trucks don't. So you make a big process out of it. Every Wednesday morning, we all drive down into Sattler. We go to the VFW hall, and the parking lot there is where the trucks are, and everyone donates their recycling, and we all visit, and everyone's drinking coffee out of thermoses, and we turn it into big fun. Then you go down the street to Sweeties. Sweeties is a tiny little donut place, and we go get a couple of donuts and then come back home. Now, Sweeties hasn't necessarily found sort of the technical aspects of how to operate a drive-through. They don't really need to. We love them anyway. It's just a couple of neat ladies in a tiny bungalow house that looks like it's fallen over. And you drive down the side of the house, and they have a sign that says drive-through. You follow the area behind the house. Then you come back on the other side, and a lady opens up a screen door and says, "Hey, what do you want?"
Yeah, I can't see that at Chick-fil-A.
No. No, we don't necessarily need things like pre-order boards or microphones or lights. We don't even have the little black thing that goes ding, ding. Now we just open the screen door and go, "Hi, honey, what do you want?"
That's funny. That's funny. So just back to we talked about the industry and what you're seeing and feeling, but do you think we're out of this and going, unless we get another Omicron or Delta? But do you think that we're moving into our restaurant season, eating out season, as the decks become, usable, and people start gathering again as groups and dining out? Do you see that staying with us for a while? Is it here permanently?
I'm hoping, but yeah, I am. I'm ever hopeful. I guess I would put myself in the cautious, optimistic, box of that question, because I think short of another curveball, or you're right, another variant or something that makes everybody, scatter again, and makes, health department or other government mandates come down the pike again. I think, yes, I think people are beginning to demonstrate what is the new normal. It isn't going to be, thank God this is over, everyone's coming back like they used to. And if there are still operators thinking that, they need to smack themselves and wake up. We're moving towards the new normal, which means guests are going to be coming out again. But people are eating differently now. I don't see people giving up the curbside pickup, or I don't see numbers going down on convenience like family packages and third-party delivery. I don't see people saying, "Well, that was a temporary fix." Now I'm just going to go sit in the restaurant. I think people will still sit in restaurants, of course, but I don't see the consumer buying habit shifting back to where it was. So, that means the independent operators for sure need to remember that they need to make sure that dining outside is just as important as they're dining in. They got to make sure that they've got an excellent program for online ordering, curbside pickup. They need to make sure that they've got a really good, friendly way of rolling into some customer service into what didn't used to be a very customer service segment, to go. I mean, remember the old days? I mean, to go was I just called on the phone and I hoped someone would answer. And sometimes they put me on hold 2 times. And then they said, pick up your food at the bar. And then I go in and I get it at the bar. And half the time it's cold. And I'm thinking we now need to make sure that we realize such a big portion of our business in the future is going to be that way. People want to order online. They want to do pickup. They want delivery. They're going to want really good packaging, good variety, good quality, but still convenient. And so I see the independent having to shift that way. Well, restaurants are going to be smaller, they're going to be smaller with more emphasis on pickup and takeout. And so we'll see that happening too.
They had to learn out of desperation and, during the COVID, how to do that. And a lot of those great ideas that were born during COVID, I think they're going to stay with us. I think curbside staying with us. I think I've seen more drive-throughs cut into the side of the wall than I've ever seen. I think some of those things they're the future of the revenue stream of a rather full service restaurant.
It was kind of funny, but I was told the other day, and this is a little extreme, but a friend of mine was saying, we just need to tell people, think drive-through as the new dine-in, and think, delivery is really the old drive-through, because it's like everyone is sort of making that step. And if you don't really have adjusted your concept to doing that, and some do, some have already made that concept. There's a guy that I got to know really well through this process because he was a restaurantowner.com member. And his name is Sean Walchef, and he and his wife have a small barbecue sports bar concept in, I think it's called Spring Valley, California, somewhere outside of San Diego. So of course they got cremated because a sports themed restaurant really requires that camaraderie. They had really good numbers before COVID made them shut down the dining room. But he said, what am I going to do? I'm serving these rib baskets and smoked wings and California's version of barbecue. I don't really know what that is, but anyway, so this barbecue menu, and it's all about, sharing pictures of beer, looking at 30 different TV screens and having a ball. Now I can't do that. So not only did he shift really well with coming up with how to do these party packages, how to have the sports party at home with my smoked wings and my different brisket items and my rib baskets and that kind of stuff. So not only did he find that, hey, I can make big portion party packs for pickup. I can do that with only having to use a small portion of my staff. I will only do maybe 60% of my total revenue, but I'm actually more profitable. And so now, of course, speed forward, he's able to open his dining room, but he never dropped off that party program curbside pickup. And he's latched onto it so well that he was just telling me the other day, he went on the other side of town over by the San Diego airport, found a really cheap small warehouse, set up his own ghost kitchen where he's doing nothing but those party packages for pickup and third-party delivery pickup. So he says, I just have 2 staff, limited menu. I'm fairly busy and I'm very profitable. And I'm thinking I may not open more big ass sports bars. I might be doing a lot more of my small package delivery locations. See, so there's sort of a change that following a consumer buying habit has sort of created a whole new avenue, for him. And I think others are going to sort of realize that we can't cry over what used to be. We have to find avenues of what is, and now how to win at that.
Well, as Gary was saying about the patios, I think that's the other area, right? That people are more comfortable outside.
Yes.
They're just more comfortable being out there. And don't you think you're going to see a lot of difference with that too? Everyone needing some type of outdoor space?
I do. I think outdoor space. And I think the neat thing about that is for a lot of the smaller independents always looked at outdoor space as like an extra. And so now they have to look at it. Wait a minute, that's part of my well-defined concept. I better pay more attention to
Right.
those tables and chairs and that cleanliness and the outdoor music and the outdoor plant life. And, remember all the restaurants we used to walk up to and you have this inside dining room that looks cool. And then there's this patio and the boards are all half broken and the tables are dirty and the plants haven't been watered in a week and there's light bulbs out. And again, not anymore. If you're going to have an outside thing, just don't throw a couple of tables that wobble out on the sidewalk. You need to make that outdoor area part of your concept because that's where people are going to feel more comfortable.
And the other one of those parts of a concept was live music basically went away in some of these smaller restaurants that would have a jazz group in or a trio or something. They would put them outside on the patio and let them play to the people waiting for their table because they couldn't come in. But I think I've been seeing around where I live, the live music has come back inside and it's become, more part of their, like you said, it's a piece of it's who I am.
Yeah.
Company.
Yeah. So I think you made a good point earlier, when we talked about COVID and the things that it forced us to, realize. I think that's true. I think what we have to realize is the industry was sort of heading that way anyway. COVID was just a 5-gallon bucket of gasoline dropped on a fire that already had some embers. We were already moving towards the need to be more convenient, the need to use more technology, the need to be smarter with our labor, retain staff, cross-train better, do more with fewer. So we already had some of these issues anyway. Then COVID just came, like a board and smacked us on the head and made it a much faster reality.
Yeah. Yeah. What's for dinner tonight?
I smoked a brisket a couple of days ago, so we're still eating on that. Yeah.
How's the pizza oven? Is it
The pizza oven is a ball. I'm having a ball. I'm getting a little better at it. I don't mind telling you the wood-fired oven that we put outside. I mean, I've always wanted one. It's fun. I've never worked with them except for when I had those short stints where I was working with clients, and I've always thought it was fun. So once we built one ourselves, and I'm out there and, getting the flame right, maintaining the heat right. I wasn't doing those first couple of dough balls came out looking like, hockey pucks, but getting better.
Yeah, I believe I was talking to your brother and you were there seasoning it for a couple of days,
Exactly.
getting it ready to cook it. Yeah, well, you can cook a lot more than pizza in those things outside.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So we've got a nice little setup. And as soon as we get over, some of the cold stint, I think we'll be out there more often.
Yeah, I'm hoping that it's, 75 yesterday and 45 today where I live, which is, you just have to keep all your wardrobe available until May. Well,
It's 20 degrees up here in Dallas, and we're shutting down in Dallas.
Yeah, it is. It's rough. It is. It's
Yeah.
rough. It's up here, you're much more, north than we are, but here on the Canyon Lake, we're in the 30s. But it's drizzly, gray, windy, cold, and and yesterday it was 80. So
yeah,
Right.
you're getting sleet, aren't you, Gary?
Yeah, we are. We are. They're starting to shut schools down. So
That's all the restaurants need.
Mhm.
Well, you know what? It's great to see you again. It's great to talk about. You've always got just wonderful things, and it's so enlightening to hear you talk about the industry because, I mean, you learn a lot in 50 years.
Yeah. There's some, and we giggle, but it's like, I think it's kind of funny in that, I walk around the house sometimes and I can't remember what the heck I had for lunch yesterday. But you do. I remember some of the basic principles that I think I'm so thankful for. And they came out of like when I was just young, impressionable, working in restaurants. I think I learned about people. I learned work ethic. I remember being 15, I was working pantry in a kitchen in Phoenix, Arizona. And this was a very expensive, high-end steak, kind of restaurant. And so I was a busboy there and I was being taught pantry. And I thought, this is so cool to work in the kitchen. And, I'm doing all the cold items and the salads and the appetizers and stuff. But it was the only world I knew. And I loved that world. I think everyone needs to have that. Instead of looking at this industry as what you do until you get a real job, I'm really hoping one day that connotation goes away because it really is a long tenured, professional way of working. And it's one of those industries that I think has probably taught most of the better people principles and acceptance and getting along than, say, other industries. Because again, going back to all the things I remember like they happened yesterday, being 15 and being in the kitchen where people spoke English and Spanish. That's all I ever knew. You just found a way of getting along. It was no big deal. White people, Black people, men, women, we all worked together. We all made the same money. It was fine. I met my first gay person when I was 15, Jim the bartender. That was no big deal. I mean, and it shouldn't be. We didn't have the terminology, gay community back in the late 60s. It was just Jim had a guy friend. Okay. It was no big deal. You all were all these things that became major issues. And they, when I got into management, I started networking with people in other industries. I realized, really, there is pay equity. I mean, inequity. I mean, women and men doing the same job and they're not paid the same. Okay, well, wow, that's kind of weird. I remember the first place I had, Frederick was a manager and so was Pat Coyle, and he made the same money and they did the same work. So the world really isn't like that. I mean, it was like, whoa. So I think everyone needs to pay a little bit more attention.
Yeah.
How well the restaurant world works.
The U.S. Soccer League just made equal pay for men and women. So we're making strides, but you're right. Yeah, you never thought about it. When I met my first Hispanic in the kitchen, I just talked louder. But
well, I can remember the first.
And think of all the people that you have met that are still 40, 50, 30 years later that you still have contact with, that you still talk to.
Sure.
That's what I loved about this industry, just all the people that came along with me in life, and that's what was exciting. But guys, it's just been great. Could you do a weekly show with us?
Sure, absolutely. I think when the weather's better, we'll do an outside one. We'll do wood-fired pizza and do a little long-distance tasting.
Well, I want to introduce you to Guy Carey. He'll be coming to your house.
I know. We could have a new show.
Live from
drive-in dives in Chris's house.
Yeah, live from culinary. What it's called, Hell's Kitchen. We'll call yours Hell's Mountain. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks. Have a great day. And everybody, thanks a lot for joining us with Chris Tripoli in his working retirement phase of life. And thank God people like Chris are staying attached to the industry because he makes a very good impact on our industry. We appreciate everybody listening to this. Thank you so much, Chris, for being a part of this.
Absolutely. My pleasure. You guys have a good day.
All right. And we'll see everybody soon.